Hello everyone, so today's video is going to be a fashion design related video slash like FIT related video. So I wanted to make a review video and kind of share my experience going to the Fashion Institute of Technology for a few reasons. I mean, I know when I was trying to decide and when I did get accepted into FIT, I watched a lot of reviews like this just so that I could know what to expect when I started my classes, and also to help me decide if FIT was the right school for me. So I have been graduated for like 6 months now, but I just never got around to making the video. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is I'm gonna be like looking at my notes a lot because I got a lot of tea to spill. No, I got some pros and a lot of cons, but I want to make sure that I don't make this video 20 minutes long, so I'm gonna try and keep it quick and stay on track, especially since my battery light's flashing. Okay, so the first thing I want to start this video out with saying is that my 2 years at FIT, graduated with my degree, I can honestly and truthfully say that I learned so much. All of my skills improved by a lot from attending this school. Now, it might not have been like the most enjoyable learning experience the entire time, but overall, me as a fashion designer improved by so much. Like, it's like night and day from me going in my first semester as a freshman to me graduating, with my 4th semester. I just gained like so much knowledge going to this school, and I mean overall, like once you got that degree, that's what you want out of it, right? That's why you're going to the school, to be prepared to be a fashion designer. That's why FIT is the #1 school, because they teach at such like a fast pace and such a high level. Like their curriculum is like out of this world, which is why they're the #1 school, because it's so intense and you literally just get crammed full of so much information, and the expectations are set so high because you're just surrounded by so much talent. You have these crazy industry professors who are like expecting so much out of you. Just to like put that into perspective, when I started out at FIT, I knew this girl who had applied to FIT, didn't get in, ended up going to Kent State for the same major for fashion design, and she would like post stuff all the time, and I would like talk to her about like fashion design sometimes, and the things that they were doing in their 3rd semester are things that at FIT I learned from like week 1 to week 5. Like that blew my mind that we had like done it so quick and moved on and learned it, and they were like still working on it in the 3rd semester. So it just goes to show, like that just like really put things into perspective for me, that FIT is just so advanced and so ahead compared to a lot of other schools, which is why it's incredibly overwhelming to go to. At first it's I'm not even gonna say at first it's overwhelming, because throughout the entire experience it's overwhelming, because you think like, okay, it has to get easier, and just when you think that, it gets harder. I don't mean to scare you, like obviously it's like so many people do it and go through it, so it's doable. It just takes a lot out of you, and I mean, you learn to go with it, you learn to learn things fast, you learn to pick up things. Okay, another kind of positive thing in sticking to with like the curriculum and classes, FIT has a lot of unique class choices and a lot of fun and different classes that you can take, not only for fashion design but for like liberal arts and gen eds that you can take. One class I was going to take that I was so excited about but wasn't able to fit into my schedule was jewelry design, and just as a science, that was going to be my science credit, and it was a jewelry design class, and it was spider web, and I took intro to film, which was so fun, because usually film majors would be taking that class, but I got to take it and I loved it, and I thought it was so fun. It was a 4-hour class, but I really genuinely enjoyed it. And they have like a bunch of other classes, like the history of costume, like art histories. I took a digital writing class, which was my English credit, and we literally studied like social media. So they definitely have like a lot of classes to choose from. Now, on the other hand, so their FIT has great class choices. This is something that bothers me so much about this school. It's the #1 fashion school, right? And the professors, no shade, I don't mean to like be too rude, but probably 85% of the professors I have should not have been teaching. We're not qualified. We pretty much had to like go to tutoring and teach ourselves. Because the fashion design program is so big, I think that they're just like lacking with qualified teachers. For example, I remember when I would be searching up fashion design jobs and fashion design internships in New York City, I'd be like looking up available job positions in the fashion industry, and there would be so many listings for fashion design professors at FIT. So I think that genuinely they are like in the need of like professors, and you can definitely tell is super unfair for the students, because a good or bad professor can really make or break your experience. Because you can have a super great professor and learn so much in the time that you have, and they can literally be so talented and have so much experience and so willing to help you. Or you can have a professor who you literally don't understand anything that they're saying. You will go to their office hours and work hard and try and work with them, and you just feel like they have no idea what they're talking about and should not be teaching the class, or are just really rude and nasty people who should not even be allowed to communicate with humans ever. So it's honestly just like the luck of the draw, and I know that a lot of people say to schedule classes based on the professors and to look up professors on ratemyprofessor.com, but that doesn't always work because FIT is hiring new professors. My 4th semester, which was the most important semester, it was an exhibition semester, it's like the most important semester, right? There were 6 new draping professors. New draping professors for your 4th semester. So I couldn't even like look them up on Rate My Professor because they didn't have anything. So I guess it depends. I always based my schedules on the times that worked into best for my schedule. You can't always get the professor that you want. Sometimes you have no choice but to be stuck with a professor that has crappy reviews, or you have to just gamble and choose a professor that has no reviews. Okay, now I want to talk about like the classroom environment and like your classmates. So first of all, FIT has a huge fashion design program. I think that that's the largest major there. Besides maybe FBM, I don't know, don't quote me on that. But ew, my belly button is sweating. So there were like a lot of people in the program who I literally had never had a class with, never even talked to. I remember my friends would be like, oh, you know so-and-so, like I have a class with her, she's in our major. And I'd be like, I have no idea who you're talking about. But then on the other hand, you have like almost every single classes with like the same person. It just depends on your schedule and your classes. So I don't know, I think that's just kind of funny how it works. Like you don't know everybody in your major, but there's like a few people who like you seem to have the same classes with. And overall, I was kind of nervous about that because I've heard things about the fashion design program and other fashion design students being really petty and competitive and like damaging other people's projects and like sabotaging and things like that, which I'm glad I did not experience any of that. I don't know if those were just people making up stories. I overall had like a pretty good experience with everyone that I had classes with because you are going through such like a crazy experience that's so intense that you literally have breakdowns, you're up all night, you literally are living at FIT if you're in the fashion design program, because after classes end, you're gonna stay till 2 a.m. when the labs close. So you do kind of create a bond with a lot of your classmates because they're the only people who know what you're going through. They're the only people who you can like ask questions, who you can confide in. So it might just be because I'm like, I don't know, I like talking to people, which was also kind of a problem because in classes, a lot of times I wouldn't ever shut up. But I like wasn't afraid to like introduce myself to people and to start talking to people and to ask like other classmates questions. That can be kind of hard to find sometimes. Like for example, I can see where the competitiveness is, but it's not really like out like in the open. Like it's more like people will be like eyeing up your project and like not say anything, but they'll just be like have a look on their face, and you can either tell that they don't like it or they're like intimidated by it. As for me, because I never ever went to like art high school or a high school that had fashion design, coming to FIT was like a huge like shock for me to see people coming from all over the world. Like I met so many talented people there that just absolutely blew my mind, that I hope to someday be as talented as them. Like that's the kind of talent that is at FIT. And I found it really inspiring. Also super like, I would compare myself to it, so that was not always the best, but I also would like be inspired by it, be like the ideas that people would come up with. I'd be like, how, I would never think to come up with that. But anyways, my point being is I would tell people that. I would be like, I would compliment their designs and, you know, give them positive feedback, which is something that doesn't happen very often, I think, because people are so competitive. Like, for example, in a lot of classes you have class critiques depending on if the professor wants to do it or not, which sounds scary, but it's not. Literally go up there, like say a few words about your piece, what inspired you. So people raise hands and kind of comment on your garment, and usually it'd be like the same 3 or 5 people raising their hand saying something about everyone's garment, because either nobody would have anything nice to say, couldn't care, didn't want to say anything, or I noticed that a lot of people are kind of shy. Students are definitely fall into like the stereotypical art student, like the shyer, like more eccentric, you know, if you know what I mean. No shade, but which is also okay. I'm just gonna like go off track a little bit, but like people think that design students are like have the best fashion and dress up every day for class. That's not true. That's FBM, that's fashion business. Like no shade to them, like that's like their passion, like shopping and putting together outfits. Our passion is to design those things for them. So because I feel like because we have so much work and we're so sleep deprived that, and everybody has their own style too. Like people show up in sweatpants, people show up in just like the craziest outfits or the most simple outfits or the fanciest outfits. Like everybody is different in fashion design. There's a wide variety of different aesthetics and different styles and different personalities, which is really cool. Okay, I've been rambling a lot, but while we're on the subject of like classes, the classes that I had, so every semester you'll have your basic sewing or draping. It's sewing and draping until 3rd semester. Yeah, then it's draping and sewing kind of become one class. So draping, sewing, you have illustration, which is going to be your design and drawing class. So you basically do 2 collections throughout the semester, and you learn how to draw figures, you learn how to render fabrics, and that's your illustration class. And then you have a digital class, which is where you learn how to create flats through Adobe and Photoshop, and then you learn how to like also draw figures in there and render fabrics and basically use the programs. And what am I missing? Yeah, those are like the 4 main ones that they focus on, and they add other things on depending on what semester you're in, like pattern making, model drawing, life drawing. With your professors, I hate that I'm going back to this because this bugs me so much, how unqualified some of the professors are to be teaching. But anyways, sometimes, occasionally, you will get that good professor who has worked in the industry for years, has connection, has knowledge, has advice. Don't be afraid to talk to them about that. I feel like I tried to like get to know my professors in that way so that I could find out more about them. I got one of my internships, which I absolutely loved. It was a paid internship right in New York through one of my professors. I was talking to him, and then he recommended me for this internship, and I ended up interviewing and getting it through my professor. Your professors have been where you are at. They have worked in the industry. So just ask them to look over your resume, ask them to look at your portfolio. So a few tips. My number one tip would be do not get behind in your schoolwork. Your girl did many times, many times, because it's so easy to just feel so overwhelmed and like you literally just live at FIT and like you're not doing anything else. Sometimes I should be like, I literally can't do this anymore. I need to like clear my mind, do something else before I literally like drop out. And one way to do this would be try to stay after class and finish your homework that they assigned you before you go home, because then you're done. You can go home and relax. You don't have to worry about it, at least for that class, which is something that I barely ever did because it was so hard for me, because I would be in class for 4 hours, right? I would be in class for 4 hours working and getting lectured, and finally get to leave. I want to go home and eat and relax. Like it's hard to get yourself to stay there and do the work, but it'll be worth it to stay there and get it done, and I don't have to worry about the homework for that class, especially for like draping and sewing. Stay there and use your class time that you have and after. Another thing is something that I didn't really start doing until like second semester, like often, was going to workrooms after hours or going to a lab. Do this, take advantage of the things that they have in the classes, take advantage of the huge desks, the huge spaces, take advantage of it not being as crowded as they are when you're in classes. Which I was kind of scared to, because when you go to like a workroom, you have all these upperclassmen who are working on these huge projects, and you like don't know what room to go into because it's a bunch of people you don't know, and it's kind of really overwhelming and like intimidating. But just do that, put your headphones in, don't care about anything, just put your headphones in and zone in on working, and just get as much work as you can in a workroom. Which are classrooms, a workroom or a lab is a classroom that is not being used by a class, like it's after classroom hours, and you can sign out a room and go. Also, you don't really need to sign out a room every time. Just like walk in, find an open room. Okay, FIT, don't sue me for saying that. Anyways, oh, and take notes. There's so many people that don't take notes. It's like you get so much information, like step-by-step information on how to do this. You're gonna go home and like not touch that project again until like a week later, and you're not gonna exactly remember everything to do. Take detailed notes, literally write down everything. I promise it'll be helpful. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I hope I didn't like ramble too much, but honestly, like in conclusion, like my honest opinion of FIT is obviously like anything could be improved, but definitely FIT and my whole experience there was not what I expected. I personally did not have the greatest experience. I was super overwhelmed 90% of the time. There was so much talent there that it really brought down my self-confidence, and there were a lot of professors there who are so harsh and so strict, and who made me feel like I shouldn't be there, I didn't deserve to be there. How am I ever gonna make it in the industry? Again, with the professors. And especially just, it's so hard not to compare yourself to work, and it's so hard to not just feel so overwhelmed all the time, because it's literally your entire life is going to school at FIT, and when you're not going to classes, you're working on stuff for your classes. There's really no time for your own projects. I felt like I didn't enjoy fashion design anymore. I just felt so uninspired all the time. It was such a relief to get out of there. Like, it makes me so sad to think about how like unhappy I was going to that school. Granted, I did learn a lot. I did learn so much and my skills improved, but it was a real rough 2 years, y'all. It was rough. Especially like I just literally almost learned to hate fashion design, because that's just like what it did to me. The amount of work that you have is just insane. Anyways, and I think each person's experience just depends on the type of person they are. You know, mine I was very overwhelmed with work because I was so uninspired to do anything there because I was so sleep deprived and just overwhelmed that I procrastinated my homework a lot, which made it even worse for me in the long run, you know. I sabotaged myself a lot, but it was like I couldn't help it because I was just so sad with being there and so over it. Anyways, enough of my problems. It wasn't like that for everyone. Yeah, so in conclusion, overall, my experience at FIT was not what I expected at all, but I learned so much. I'm a much better fashion designer than I was, and I am so grateful for that. I'm grateful for everything I learned. I'm grateful to be able to live in New York City, my favorite city. I'm grateful to have a degree from the #1 fashion design school in America. Like, what? Not many people can say that, and so many people apply to the school and wish they could get in. So I'm so grateful for that and my experience there. And honestly, as awful as it seemed at times, I would do it all over again. I honestly would. I would not enjoy it, but I would do it all over again. Yeah, so I'm grateful for my experience there, and I'm glad it's over. Hope that this video was helpful, interesting, entertaining to anyone. If you have any questions about FIT or fashion design or literally anything, if you feel like you're at FIT right now and you're losing your mind, message me. I know how you feel. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. What?